What's your fuck this? I quit story? Was getting screamed at in a meeting by some marketing jerk that was literally demanding my technical group perform magic on a completely unrealistic time schedule with almost no resources. Literally screaming at me in front of about 8 of my peers. Calling me incompetent. Just do your bro. All of that. I stood up. Said I refuse to be talked to like that. And left the meeting. Normally if you just get up and leave these types of meetings, you're fired. Boss scheduled a meeting with me later in the afternoon after hearing about it. Figured I'd be walked out. Was told they fired the marketing guy. That was my fit. Moment. But the company kept me on and fired the other guy. Pretty happy. It has been a solid place to work ever since. That's a nice one. More bosses should be along those lines and fire the cunts causing the workplace to be trash. After taking a few days off work, while my father was having a brain tumor removed, and still checking emails, and attending conference calls from the hospital, my boss gave me a new project. On a Thursday afternoon she gave me a Monday morning deadline for a project that would take 6 to 8 days to complete. I worked 16 hours a day to get it done. When we met on Monday she asked how my weekend was. I worked all weekend. Then she asked if I got to visit my dad in the hospital. No, I didn't get a chance because I worked all weekend. A couple weeks later she pulled me into a meeting and said I feel like you were resentful because you had to work, and I feel like I was really good when your dad was sick. Maybe you're just tired. Are you tired? She'd also make comments when I would leave the office on time. Not early. On time. It's great that you just get up and go when your day is over. Like I have to go because I have a daughter. But you don't have any kids and you just leave at the end of the day. Yeah. Bitch. I don't live here. I don't go home and sit in a dark room counting the hours until I get to come back here. I'm also not curing cancer. Nothing we do here matters to anyone outside of here. I give you 100% when I'm here. But when my day is done, it's fucking done. I no longer work there. I am a manager. People don't leave jobs, they leave managers. Bad managers are a problem. They ruin companies. Everything you typed was just cringe-worthy managing. When I have to push work like that, I never ever do what your old manager did after. How was your work and after pushing that kind of work? WTF. Hope you threw her under the bus in your exit interview. Had a job that had flexible hours. I worked 7 to 3. Our clients left at 2, and I usually wrapped all my work up before 3. Well, our manager quit one day and this enormous cunt took his place. He came in, began ranting that people weren't putting in 8 hours, started saying that he was going to report our department head to upper management, and the people that worked 10 to 6 he would try to force them into the office by 8. This guy was a massive cunt. I actually completed the most tickets and mentored people. One day he pulled me into the office and told me he wanted me to stay later and that I was doing a terrible job. Asked this piece of shit to check the metrics, to which he said he didn't care. I just stood up and yelled at him. Turned in my notice. How did the cunt react to being yelled at? He didn't actually say anything, just sat there closed-mouthed. The weird thing was all those issues he was having with people, he'd constantly call me into the office to gripe about me, others, and what he hated. It was really odd. You were too competent, and he was trying to get you to quit so he could replace you with someone cheaper. I have seen this tactic used before. If you have any stories, please share them in the comments section below. Kind long. Sorry, I was a manager at a company where the executives were ineffective. I worked 60 hours a week most of the time and had to do all of my director's duties because he did not understand our systems. The work environment was also pretty hostile and passive aggressive. People cried on the job daily in other departments. Slightly less in mine. Managers and staff would snap at other departments the same way the executives did because of the stress. I tried to take care of my department and make sure they were not being abused or taken advantage of. I had 3 days leave for a death in the family, but had to work every day from home, and the funeral itself. It was especially vexing because it was to redo the same thing every day that my boss would just forget to complete and need done again the next day. I brought this to his attention, as well as all the other issues, and he said he would try to do better. Months went by, and it got worse. Finally, our team sat down with him and told him things needed to change. I told him that the environment was more hostile and aggressive than ever, and the team agreed. He told me that was my perception and we needed an attitude change. Then left for a meeting, which I had provided him the data for. I cleared out my desk and left. Quit with hours. For me, the kicker is that he kept assigning me tasks and insisted that I was still working there 4 days. Never been more relieved to quit in my life. Refusing to let you quit. That's a new one for me. My first job. I was assigned to a specific area, and I thought I was doing my job well. One Monday, I was pulled into the office and asked why, whatever thing it was. I don't remember. Hasn't it been done for the last 2 weeks? I replied I was not aware it was part of my duties. My supervisor said he was putting me on a mandatory non-paid vacation for 2 weeks. No warning. No explanation on why I all of a sudden had to do work for a different department. So I said don't worry about it. I quit. It was a lousy job anyway. I was only getting paid 18 hours a week, but was doing more than that. 16 and stupid, I guess. My first job was working at an Amazon distribution warehouse. Granted, I had no idea what I was getting myself into, but I figured hey, I need the money for bills. Starting off there was interesting to say the least. Hundreds of aisles on 2 sides of the warehouse with a single conveyor belt separating them all. All of us workers huddling up into groups for stretches every time a shift started. The buzzwords all along the cafeteria made it feel like I was in a cult. Our demographic makeup was a mix of young and elderly men and women from all walks of life. As time went on, I was overworked, and I quickly realized the managers didn't give much care towards us. They only loved the new expansions to the building with more racks and conveyor belts. They tried little things like rewards and catering from Chipotle and Boston Market, but the workers who've been there since the building opened noted various complaints about working conditions, working in 90+ degree temperatures with no ceiling fans, spillages, overflowing aisles, shifting 50+ pound boxes, scanners not working, etc. My final straw was when I was assigned to shift 24,000+ packages on the new split conveyor belts with a woman who was pregnant during Prime Week. The belts overflowed that night. I realized if this was the type of thing I was going to do, then I didn't want it anymore. By that point I lost more than 20 pounds. I weighed 175 when I started, and when I quit I was 151 lbs. I quit after 5 months with no regrets. I was a truck driver working a regional route that required me working nights. So basically I would drive all through the night, deliver a load, sleep through the day, and take a load back to my original place the next night. The thing is, sleeping during the day at a warehouse where yard dogs, the guys that moved trailers around a lot of the warehouse with little tractor deals, were constantly moving shit around, knocking into my truck, and oftentimes literally waking me up to move my truck. I was barely getting any sleep, and the only time I had to ever get a good night's rest was during the weekend. So driving to my first delivery, I told my manager I am taking an extra day off because I am exhausted and I have to get a few days of sleep. I was literally getting maybe 3 to 4 hours of solid sleep a day, and energy drinks were worthless at this point. They gave me the go ahead. I dropped my delivery, slept as best as I could at the warehouse, and picked up the load to take back with a message from my managers telling me to have a good weekend and rest up. When I was about an hour and a half away from my destination, after driving all night for about 8 hours reaching pure exhaustion, I get a message saying never mind, we need you to work this work. No. Mind you, I know this stuff happens, and you sometimes have to pick up the slack of other employees at times. Things happen. I get it, and 99% of the time I am all for helping out other employees and my managers if they need it. But this was about the 3rd time this happened. I have not had a good night's sleep in 3 weeks at this point, and I kept trying to call my managers or anyone who would answer me. But it was the weekend and no one would respond to their messages or phone calls. I was literally being ignored, and I just snapped. Luckily, the demand for truckers is massive. I mean, I get texts non-stop asking if I am in the market because a company needs drivers. I have not even been in the industry for 2 years currently, and my phone still gets blown up with calls and texts asking if I want to drive again. So literally all I did was call one of the numbers that would contact me constantly and immediately was hired after 5 minutes of talking on the phone. Sent in a message saying I quit and good luck. Funny enough, then they started responding to my messages and tried calling me. I know it was probably a dick move to fuck them over, and I normally would never do that. But I just broke and could not take it anymore. I know it was probably a dick move to fuck them over, and I normally would never do that. But I just broke and could not take it anymore. Not a dick move to stop bending over when management keeps trying to fuck you. I can assure you that they didn't lose a minute of sleep over you or anyone else that they fucked over on a regular basis. Had a super shitty job at a donut shop. I was promised a raise, which I never received. We always worked alone at the shop, so I never got to know anyone else. Never got their phone numbers. Yet the non-written policy was that you would find someone to cover your shifts. One day, I woke up and knew immediately that I had strep throat. Went to the doctor and he confirmed that it was strep, and it was really bad. Worst I have ever had it. So knowing that I was contagious for at least 2 days, and knowing that I should not be around people or food, and am not even able to speak, I texted my boss. I did not have a shift scheduled until the next day. Told her I wanna be in for at least a week because of my strep. She told me I will have to find someone to cover my shifts. I told her that it is not possible because I do not have an eye on hers number. I cannot speak, and in all honesty, was in so much pain I just wanted to pass out. She told me that if I cannot find someone to cover, I will have to come in. And if I do not come in, I want to have a job. I replied with a miracle. Guess I do not have a job turno. I returned my gear 2 weeks later once I had recovered. Never spoke to that cunt again. She told me I will have to find someone to cover my shifts. I tell people all the time, when a manager tells you this, the reply should always be that's your job. Thanks for watching the video. Please like and subscribe for more content.